What a headshot! What a head!
How's it guys, this is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'll be taking you through my transfer plan for the upcoming Game Week 4. So I know a very early transfer plan, the international break has actually just started, but what a way to start it with the transfer deadline day. I don't know about you guys, but I've been thoroughly enjoying seeing all these transfers taking place hour by the hour, and as a Liverpool fan, signing Isaac as well as Mark Gay is the perfect end to a great transfer window. But there's been a ton of transfers happening today. It's always great to see new talent joining the Premier League. Speaking about talent though, in this video I'm going to be talking about if my FPL team has the talent to finally get a green arrow. If you guys saw my ranks in Game Week 1 and 2, you'll know the team was simply terrible. Thankfully though, Game Week 3 looks a lot better and we're entering the international break with a green arrow. So some very initial looks at how the team performed as well as what transfers I'm currently contemplating. As with so many transfers being made, those price rises are quite volatile, so chances are we might even be locking one of these moves in quite early. So if you guys want to see my team review for Game Week 3, how the squad performed, as well as my transfer plan for the upcoming Game Week 4, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So as mentioned, thankfully Game Week 3 went better and we entering the international break with the green arrow. The rank still looks pretty bad though at 6.6 million. Don't worry though, I kind of feel like the team is shaping up into some better form, and thanks to 50 points, we're not looking at red, we're looking at green. Now we actually used both free transfers in Game Week 3 and that was to sort out some injury concerns, namely to Cole Palmer. Now for the upcoming Game Week 4, we have a little bit of money in the bank, 0.7 and one free transfer, and it's looking quite likely that we're actually going to be using it. So let me know in the comments down below, how did your game week go? I've seen some massive scores this week as well as some pretty bad ones. I'm just thankful to be back on the green arrow side of things. Now let's see where those points came from. Unfortunately on the bench, we did end up benching Richards for Crystal Palace, which I don't really regret as I did own Rodgers as well as Ollie Watkins. So yes, spoiler alert there, my Aston Villa double up ended up blanking, of course because Richards got the clean sheet. Just great performance overall from Crystal Palace, although I would probably say that Aston Villa attack hasn't been fantastic. But how will losing Mark Gay affect that Palace defense? Just something that I'm considering. They do have some great fixtures though, so I'm pretty sure the clean sheet should still be there, but definitely one to ponder. Otherwise, Strand Larsen, as expected, missed out of this one. Now was it because of injury or transfer concerns? Who kind of knows? But thankfully looks like he's going to be staying at Wolves for the upcoming game weeks. Now, I kind of betted on him staying at Wolves because they have some good fixtures coming up and will be a little bit of a nice rotation piece with my starting 11. Then finally Esteve and Dubravka unfortunately couldn't keep a clean sheet against United, which I didn't mind as I captained Bruno Fernandes. Now Sanchez did outperform Dubravka with the clean sheet. Pretty comfortable game overall, however he did lose out early in the fixture, but the goal was turned around and Vars come out and said that it made a mistake. So I do feel kind of dirty getting these points as it shouldn't have been overruled, but I guess you take those in FPL at the end of the day. Now massive disappointment coming from our backline of Murillo plus Neco Williams. It was 0-0 for the majority of the fixture and then Jared Bowen broke the deadlock and then the floodgates opened, conceding 3 goals. Now to make matters worse, Neco Williams and Murillo have got no defensive contributions this season. I kind of feel like I've been sold a dream, especially with Murillo. Now I do kind of worry for Nottingham Forest as a whole with the manager being unhappy. I just feel like they're not in a good space. And that could lead my transfer plan to actually being taking one of them out even with some good fixtures coming up. They've just been super disappointing and it just seems like the bank of fixtures, the fixtures, they should keep the clean sheet. It simply hasn't been there. Finally Pedro Porro, who did get some late DEFCON contributions added to him. Don't exactly know who called Opta, but I thank you for that one. He lost the clean sheet but got the extra 2 bonus points. Not the worst performer at all, except I was hoping for a bit more out of the Spurs team with the easier fixture. It's just classic Spurs to go and beat Man City with the clean sheet and then lose the game afterwards. Definitely not the first time this has happened though. Then in our midfield department, I didn't go for the Mo Salah captaincy as I thought this game would be quite cagey. Exactly what it is, but he did keep the clean sheet though. He did have a few chances, but I won't lie, Salah definitely wasn't on his best form, actually had a pretty bad game. I can forgive him though, as this is probably against the best defense in the Premier League. We just spoke about sort of the highest ceiling, and I just feel like Salah didn't have one this week. But he doesn't have to score every single game, especially if you don't captain him. It is quite hard though that Erling Haaland went and scored and got maximum bonus points. I just hope Salah in the upcoming game weeks can prove the better asset, as right now Haaland has the lead in my opinion. Now we're going to go on to one of our first free transfers, and that was Cole Palmer out, and we went for Ismaila Sarr. He got a goal but got booked for simulation late into the fixture. Now my thinking behind going for Sarr is I just kind of backed the research I did in pre-season. His stats look great, and obviously Crystal Palace have some good fixtures. To make matters even better, his Aston Villa record has been outstanding, and he just added to that in game week 3. Now the only concern was that he was subbed off late into the fixture with an apparent injury, and he's also pulled out of the international duty with Senegal. So let's wait and see, just hoping that he is fit, because obviously the fixtures look pretty decent, but quite happy that I went for him over someone like a Semenyo. We're then going to move on to Captain Fantastic Bruno Fernandes. I won't lie to you guys, when I did see he hadn't scored by the 95th minute, I wasn't expecting much, but obviously got the late penalty. Now of course this probably was quite lucky, but picking a penalty taker always comes in clutch, and it was nice to captain the best player in my starting 11. Now once again he did rack up those DEFCON bonus points, and let's hope that does become a habit, although he is playing quite deep. I said this in the deadline stream, but even though United are terrible, it doesn't mean that Bruno can't get points, and that's basically exactly what happened here. Now unfortunately Aston Villa are in a very bad place from an attacking point of view, which I can't really understand, as their preseason was one of the best in the Prem. They just can't seem to break down any teams, and that's why Rodgers has been struggling, although their lineup in game week 3 was definitely more attacking. I don't really know what to do with the Aston Villa assets though, as their fixtures are still pretty good. They definitely aren't in form though. Then unfortunately Rangers, even with Rodri back in the lineup, just couldn't get any attacking output, and overall Man City were a little bit flat against Brighton. Now I have been saying in the previous game weeks that he doesn't have to return every single game, but he's got to make the most out of his playing time, as that benching is going to be coming. So let's see what happens. It has been 3 starts on the trot though, but Man City have had a few injuries. Then up front, Ollie Watkins yet again blanking, and that's how Richards kept the clean sheet. I don't really know what's happened with him and Aston Villa. Like with Rodgers though, it's such a tough place because they've got good fixtures coming up. It just depends on how long I can keep the faith. Then unfortunately, my first experience with Chris Wood was a pretty negative one. Bringing him in against West Ham was meant to be the banker after their bad defensive form in game week 1 and 2. What ends up happening, I guess I kind of broke Chris Wood, I do apologize. To make matters worse, I think he only got about 70 minutes. At least I didn't go for the captain, as some of you were saying in the deadline stream. It was a close call though, but I did go for Bruno Fernandes. Now he does have Arsenal coming up away from home, not expecting much there, but then 2 great fixtures after that. Now unfortunately, Wood has to keep track with João Pedro, as JP's owned by basically half the game, and with the better fixture I was expecting more. So even though we did get a green arrow, I do kind of feel like the team could have performed better. I'm definitely looking at those Aston Villa assets. But as mentioned, at least it is a green arrow going to international break. Let me know how your game week went and how many points you guys scored. Now before we do go over my transfer plan and that one free transfer, I want to show you guys the context of my current team selection. Now we do have 2 weeks of information left, so please try and prolong those transfers as long as possible, as who knows what's going to happen in those international games. Now the window is also ending tonight, so please make sure that your player that you want to bring in is playing for the same club, but some games can be made for players like a Gay that are moving to better situations. Now the bench this week might actually be a little bit of a concern. The only reason I'm benching Strand Larsen at the moment though is that he is yellow flagged. This might have just been a precaution though, with the transfer window still open. Now against Newcastle, I still feel like this could be a great fixture, might be quite open-ended, and I do prefer him with this fixture over some of my other assets in my starting 11. Now I won't be starting Dubravka or Esteve, and neither Neco Williams, so the bench kind of picks itself beside Strand Larsen. Then our starting goalkeeper Sanchez should be starting for the foreseeable future now that Donnarumma will be joining Man City, and a pretty good fixture Brentford away. Brentford have turned it a little bit around from their game week 1 fixture and look slightly better, but I still back the clean sheet. Then our backline, unfortunately, I will have to start Murillo against Arsenal, but could this be the game that he actually gets those DEFCON points? And because I don't own a Gyökeres, kind of still hope they keep the clean sheet. If I do replace him or one of my other defenders, he probably will be benched though, as I don't expect much against Arsenal away. Then at least we have Richards against Sunderland, but as mentioned, how is Mark Gay leaving going to affect that defense? I guess it's a wait and see, but some pretty good fixtures. Then finally, Pedro Porro. Can West Ham keep it up after their win against Forest? I'm still waiting for a Pedro Porro attacking return. Then in terms of midfield department, no-brainer captain, it's definitely Mo Salah. What a fixture to have in Game Week 4. Saul also pretty decent, but as mentioned, currently injured. Can he recover? And not too fond of Bruno against Man City, although they have been conceding. I just hope that Reinders and Bruno can have a relatively good fixture both scoring. Is that too much to ask for? Then finally Rodgers, also pairing him up with Watkins up front against Everton away. Tough game, as Everton are always a pretty solid defense. Don't you know what more to say about Aston Villa? I just hope their new signings like a Harvey Elliott can do well. But I don't know who they're going to need to save them, at least the attack. Finally, Chris Wood. If Strand Larsen is fit, I probably will be benching Chris Wood. Although benching him might not be that great, as I don't own any Arsenal defense. This is probably the only week in the foreseeable future that there might be a little bit of benching dilemma. Who would you guys bench if everyone's fully fit? Now, as you guys can see with that benching dilemma in my attacking department, I think my one free transfer will probably be best used on a new defender. Let's go over a few options. So I guess benching Murillo might be the best situation, although I do hope Gyökeres blanks and therefore Forest keep a clean sheet. And as mentioned, it does feel quite weird taking them out before Burnley and Sunderland. My only thinking is I don't exactly know how Forest are going to do in these upcoming games, as it doesn't seem like the best situation at the club currently. Now, taking out Murillo at 5.5 does allow me to stretch to Virgil van Dijk, and he's got Burnley and Everton back to back. Now, the thing I love about Virgil is just that DEFCON threat that he has every single game, just an absolute giant in that defensive department. Now, we'll also add that Liverpool did look better against Arsenal. I know that Arsenal didn't play the most attacking lineup, but after Game Week 1 and 2, I was doubting the Liverpool defense. This move though does seem quite sideways with those fixtures coming up for Nottingham Forest, but with the current state of the club, I don't even know if those fixtures matter. I guess a more conservative transfer might be actually taking out Neco Williams instead of Murillo, and therefore going for Munoz at 5.5. Now, similar to Richards though, how is the Gay loss going to affect Munoz and that Crystal Palace defense? That could be one to watch even with these good fixtures. Once again, also a little bit of a sideways move. Munoz is way more attacking though, and to be honest, Crystal Palace's defense, even without Gay, probably is better than Nottingham Forest at the moment. I will say fixtures probably medium term do turn a little bit average, but in the short term, Sunderland, West Ham, those are pretty decent. This transfer probably does make a little bit more sense though, but there's an alternative that might be even better. So the last transfer that I want to talk about is potentially upgrading Esteve. I know upgrading your 4.0, it might not be worth it, but Gay at 4.5 might be an absolute cheat code. So if you guys don't know, Gay has just signed for Liverpool. It hasn't been officially confirmed, but we have had the here we go. And at 4.5, a starting Liverpool defender at that price tag could be absolute gold. Now, of course, there's speculation he might not actually be starting, but what I will say is Konate's injury, if it is bad, Gay is an absolute lock, as I don't kind of feel like the new Italian centre-back will be ready for the Prem. I think Gay is just a step ahead of him, has been playing for Palace for a few seasons now, and accompanying Virgil van Dijk, I can see a pretty good partnership there. So yes, we will be losing our 4.0 defender, so our bench becomes a bit more expensive. But if Gay starts against Burnley, this will allow me to drop Murillo to the bench. This of course though is a wait and see. I mean, Konate might not even be injured, as Arne Slot did say he thought it was crap. If this transfer doesn't become a reality and maybe Gay won't be starting Game Week 4, Game Week 5, do you guys prefer the first or the second transfer? There's a ton still to come. The transfer window hasn't closed yet, although it will close shortly. And of course, watch out for those international games, as there could be injuries there. Make sure those notifications are on for future videos, as I will address all those concerns. But I think the team actually looks pretty decent for Game Week 4. But this is basically going to wrap up the video, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like if you didn't subscribe if you have subscribed yet. Enjoy the international break if I don't see you again. But for the time being, I'm signing off. This has been Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.